If you think your home is safe for your cat because you've put away the obvious hazards, you're doing exactly what every responsible cat owner does, aren't you? You don't leave toxic plants within reach. You keep medications in cabinets. You're careful with cleaning products. And honestly, that seems like you've covered everything. But here's what almost nobody realizes until it's too late. The most dangerous threats to your cat's health aren't the things you've already thought about. They're hiding in plain sight, in everyday items you use without a second thought, creating slow, invisible damage that won't show up for months or even years. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Your cat's biology makes them vulnerable to toxins and irritants that barely affect you. Their smaller size, their grooming habits, their inability to metabolize certain compounds, all of these factors mean that substances you consider completely harmless are quietly poisoning them right now. And most veterinarians won't make the connection between your cat's mysterious symptoms and that thing you've been using in your home for years, because you never thought to mention it. We're not talking about rare accidents or freak occurrences. These are common household items in millions of homes, causing chronic health problems in millions of cats, and almost nobody connects the dots until the damage is severe. Let's start with the one that's probably plugged in somewhere in your house right now, filling the air with something your cat's lungs can't handle. Does your home always smell amazing because you have a plug-in air freshener in every room, or maybe you burn scented candles every evening? You love the ambience, the pleasant scent, the way it makes your space feel welcoming. And why wouldn't you? It seems completely harmless. But here's what most cat owners don't know. Those synthetic fragrances you're releasing into the air aren't just scent. They're a complex mixture of volatile organic compounds, and your cat is breathing them in with every breath, all day, every day. Here's the biology that makes this dangerous. Cats have respiratory systems that are significantly more sensitive than humans to airborne irritants. And unlike you, your cat doesn't leave the house to get fresh air. They're in that scented environment 24/7. Research on indoor air quality and pet health has found that synthetic fragrances can contain dozens of different chemical compounds, many of which are respiratory irritants or potential carcinogens. A study published in Environmental Health Perspectives identified that many air fresheners release phthalates and formaldehyde into indoor air, both of which have been linked to respiratory issues in animals. But here's what makes this particularly insidious for cats. They're low to the ground, where heavier-than-air compounds concentrate. They're breathing in higher concentrations of these chemicals than you are, even though you're in the same room. The symptoms develop so gradually that most owners never connect them. A slight increase in sneezing. Watery eyes that you assume are allergies. A chronic cough the vet can't quite explain. Asthma-like symptoms that worsen over time. These can all be caused by chronic exposure to synthetic fragrances. But because the exposure is constant and the symptoms are subtle, the connection goes unnoticed. And scented candles add another layer of danger: soot particulates. When candles burn, especially scented ones with synthetic fragrances, they release microscopic particles into the air that your cat inhales. Over months and years, this particulate exposure can contribute to respiratory inflammation and disease. The fix is straightforward but requires changing habits. Eliminate synthetic air fresheners, plug-ins, and heavily scented candles. If you want pleasant scents, open windows for fresh air, use houseplants that naturally purify air, but research cat-safe varieties. Or if you must have fragrance, use minimal amounts of naturally scented options and ensure excellent ventilation. Your cat's lungs will thank you with every breath they're not struggling to take. Now let's talk about something you probably use every single day without realizing it's coating your cat's paws and then going directly into their digestive system. Do you use fabric softener in your laundry, or throw a dryer sheet in with every load? That soft, fresh-smelling towel you dried your cat off with after that rare bath, or the blanket they sleep on every night, it's covered in a thin film of chemicals. Here's what most people don't understand. Fabric softeners work by coating fabric fibers with a layer of chemicals that reduce static and create that soft feel. These chemicals include quaternary ammonium compounds, quats, synthetic fragrances, and various other substances. When your cat walks on freshly laundered bedding, lies on laundered blankets, or you dry them with a treated towel, those chemicals transfer to their fur and paws. And what does your cat do multiple times per day? They groom. Every time they lick their paws or groom their fur, they're ingesting whatever chemicals are coating those surfaces. Research on household chemical exposure in pets has found that cats are particularly vulnerable to this grooming-mediated exposure pathway. They're essentially eating small amounts of fabric softener residue every day. The health impacts are varied and difficult to diagnose. Some cats develop contact dermatitis, skin irritation, itching, or rashes where they've had prolonged contact with treated fabrics. Others experience gastrointestinal symptoms from ingesting the chemicals through grooming. And some research suggests that chronic exposure to quats may have endocrine-disrupting effects, though long-term studies in cats are limited. But here's the detail that makes this particularly concerning. Dryer sheets are even worse than liquid fabric softener because they contain higher concentrations of chemicals, and the heat of the dryer helps those chemicals penetrate deeper into fabrics. That cozy blanket fresh from the dryer? It's probably at peak chemical load. The solution requires minimal sacrifice. Stop using fabric softener and dryer sheets on anything your cat contacts regularly: bedding, blankets, your clothes, towels. If static is an issue, use wool dryer balls or reduce drying time. Your laundry might not smell like artificial lavender anymore, but your cat won't be ingesting industrial chemicals with every grooming session. Here's one that's going to surprise you because it seems like it should be helping, not hurting. Do you have an ultrasonic pest repeller plugged in somewhere in your home? Maybe you're using it to keep mice, insects, or other pests away without using traps or poisons. It seems like the perfect, humane solution. But here's what the marketing doesn't tell you. Those high-frequency sounds that are supposed to repel pests. Your cat can hear them clearly. And they might be causing chronic stress that's manifesting in ways you never connect to that little device in the wall outlet. Cats can hear frequencies up to 64,000 Hz. Humans max out around 20,000 Hz. Most ultrasonic pest repellers operate in the range of 20,000 to 65,000 Hz, which means they're right in your cat's hearing range, but often completely outside yours. To you, the device is silent. To your cat, it's emitting a constant, high-pitched noise they can't escape. Research on the effectiveness and welfare implications of ultrasonic devices has actually found they're not particularly effective at pest control, but they can cause stress in household pets. A study on auditory stress in cats found that exposure to high-frequency sounds can lead to elevated cortisol levels, behavioral changes, and increased anxiety. The symptoms are subtle and behavioral. Your cat might seem more restless, avoid certain rooms, display increased aggression or hiding, or develop stress-related health issues like overgrooming or litter box problems. And because the device seems unrelated to your cat, after all, it's marketed as pest control, not something that affects pets, you never make the connection. And here's the particularly frustrating part: these devices don't actually work that well. Multiple studies have found limited evidence for their effectiveness in repelling pests, meaning you're potentially stressing your cat for no benefit whatsoever. The fix is simple: remove ultrasonic pest repellers from your home. If you have pest issues, address them with traditional methods, proper food storage, and sealing entry points. Your cat will no longer be subjected to constant auditory stress from a device that probably wasn't working anyway. If you're starting to realize your cat has been exposed to hidden dangers in the safest place they know, that's exactly why Whisker Wisdom exists. Subscribe so you learn what's really affecting your cat's health, not just what's marketed as pet safe. And stay with me, because the next 4 dangers are even more common, and one of them is in almost every kitchen in America. Let's talk about what's under your kitchen sink and, more importantly, what's left behind on your floors after you use it. You mop your floors to keep your home clean, which is responsible pet ownership, right? But here's the question nobody asks: what's in that floor cleaner, and what happens when your cat walks across the floor you just cleaned? Most conventional floor cleaners contain phenols, pine oils, or quaternary ammonium compounds, all of which are particularly toxic to cats. And here's why cats are uniquely vulnerable. They lack an enzyme called glucuronyltransferase that most mammals use to break down and eliminate certain chemicals from the body. This means that compounds that are mildly irritating to dogs or humans can be genuinely toxic to cats because they can't metabolize and excrete them efficiently. When you mop your floor with conventional cleaners and don't rinse thoroughly, and most people don't, you leave a thin residue of these chemicals on the surface. Your cat walks across it. The residue coats their paw pads. They groom their paws. The chemicals enter their system. And because they can't break them down efficiently, the toxins accumulate. Research on household cleaning product toxicity in cats has documented cases of liver damage, neurological symptoms, and respiratory issues from chronic exposure to phenol-based cleaners. The symptoms are often vague: lethargy, loss of appetite, vomiting, and develop gradually, making the connection to floor cleaner nearly impossible for most owners to make. Pine oil-based cleaners are particularly problematic. That fresh pine scent you love? It contains compounds that can cause gastrointestinal upset, central nervous system depression, and liver damage in cats. A study in veterinary toxicology documented multiple cases of cats developing serious symptoms after exposure to pine oil cleaning products. The solution requires changing products and methods. Switch to cat-safe floor cleaners, look for plant-based, phenol-free, pine oil-free formulas, or use simple solutions like diluted vinegar. And critically, always rinse floors with clean water after using any cleaning product, even safe ones. This removes residue and dramatically reduces your cat's exposure. Now let's address something sitting on your stovetop or in your kitchen cabinets right now. Do you have non-stick cookware? Pans coated with Teflon or similar non-stick surfaces? They're convenient, easy to clean, and you probably use them daily. But here's what most cat owners don't know. When non-stick cookware is heated, especially at high temperatures or if it's scratched or degraded, it releases fumes that are toxic to birds and potentially harmful to cats. The compound in non-stick coatings is polytetrafluoroethylene, commonly known as PTFE. When heated above certain temperatures, usually around 500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is easier to reach than you think, PTFE begins to break down and release fumes. Bird owners know about this danger because it can kill pet birds within minutes. It's called Teflon toxicity, or polymer fume fever. But what about cats? While cats are more resistant than birds, they're not immune. Research on PTFE fume exposure in small animals suggests that cats can experience respiratory irritation, flu-like symptoms, and in severe cases, pulmonary edema from exposure to these fumes. And even if acute toxicity doesn't occur, chronic low-level exposure from regular cooking may contribute to respiratory sensitivity over time. The problem is that most people don't realize how hot their pans get, or they leave empty pans on hot burners, or they're using old, scratched non-stick cookware that degrades more readily. Every time you cook with degraded non-stick cookware at high heat, you might be releasing fumes your cat is breathing in. And here's the particularly concerning detail: cats spend a lot of time in kitchens, especially around meal preparation time. They're right there, at ground level where fumes sink, breathing in whatever you're releasing into the air. The fix involves kitchen equipment changes. Replace non-stick cookware with stainless steel, cast iron, or ceramic alternatives. If you must use non-stick, never heat it empty, keep temperatures moderate, replace pans when they become scratched or degraded, and ensure excellent kitchen ventilation when cooking. Your cat's respiratory system will be safer, and honestly, other cookware options often perform better anyway. Here's a danger hiding in your bathroom trash can, your sewing kit, or your junk drawer, and it's one of the most common causes of emergency veterinary surgery in cats. String, dental floss, hair ties, rubber bands, thread, ribbon, yarn, anything long, thin, and flexible. You know you're supposed to keep these away from your cat, but you don't realize just how dangerous they are or how motivated your cat is to find them. Cats have backward-facing barbs on their tongues called papillae that help them groom and strip meat from prey. But these barbs also mean that once something linear catches on their tongue, they physically cannot spit it out. Their tongue anatomy forces them to swallow. And this is where the nightmare begins. When a cat swallows string or similar material, one end often gets anchored, sometimes under the tongue, sometimes in the stomach. The intestines continue their normal peristaltic motion, trying to move the string along, but it can't move because it's anchored. So instead, the intestine bunches up around the string like fabric on a drawstring. As the intestine continues contracting, the string can saw through the intestinal wall from the inside, creating perforations. Veterinary surgeons call these linear foreign bodies, and they're one of the most feared emergency situations in feline medicine. A study published in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association on foreign body ingestion in cats found that linear foreign bodies have a much higher complication rate than other swallowed objects, with perforation leading to peritonitis, sepsis, and death if not caught early. And here's the horrifying part: by the time symptoms appear, vomiting, lethargy, loss of appetite, the string may have already perforated the intestine. Emergency surgery is required, often involving removing sections of damaged bowel. The mortality rate is significant, and even with successful surgery, recovery is long and expensive. The items most commonly involved: dental floss pulled from bathroom trash cans, hair ties from countertops, thread from sewing projects, ribbon from gifts, and yes, string toys left out unsupervised. Your cat's predatory drive makes these irresistible, and their tongue anatomy makes swallowing inevitable once they mouth them. The fix is absolute vigilance. Never leave string, floss, hair ties, or similar items accessible. Bathroom trash cans need lids. Hair ties go in closed drawers. String toys get put away completely after supervised play sessions. Sewing supplies stay in closed containers. And if you ever see string hanging from your cat's mouth or rear end, never pull it. This can cause the exact internal damage we just described. Get to a vet immediately. Finally, let's talk about the most common hidden danger that owners actively create while thinking they're being kind. You leave a window open for fresh air, or you let your cat enjoy your balcony because they love being outside. And you trust the window screen to hold, or you assume your cat won't jump from the balcony because they're smart enough to know it's dangerous. But here's the truth that sends thousands of cats to emergency rooms every year. Indoor cats have zero experience judging heights, and their predatory drive doesn't calculate fall distance. Veterinarians call it high-rise syndrome, and it's entirely preventable yet shockingly common. Your indoor cat sees a bird, a moth, a leaf blowing past the window. Their predatory brain sees prey, not a 5-story drop. They launch after it before conscious thought can intervene. Or they're enjoying the balcony, a sudden noise startles them, and they bolt in panic, straight over the edge. A landmark study from the Animal Medical Center in New York analyzed 132 cats that fell from high-rise buildings. While the majority survived with treatment, the injuries were severe: shattered jaws, broken legs, collapsed lungs, ruptured bladders, facial trauma. Many required extensive surgery and lengthy, painful recovery. And the research found that falls from 2 to 6 stories were actually often more dangerous than higher falls, debunking the myth that cats always land safely. But windows present an additional danger that many owners don't consider. Screens are not safety barriers. Most window screens are designed to keep insects out, not to restrain a 10-pound cat who's determined to reach something outside. Cats can and do push through screens regularly, either gradually loosening them with repeated pressure, or bursting through them in a single leap. And here's the heartbreaking pattern. This happens most often in spring and summer when owners are opening windows for the first time after winter. Your cat has been staring at that window for months. The first time it opens, they're highly motivated to investigate or reach whatever's outside. One afternoon of an unsecured window can end in tragedy. The fix requires commitment to safety over convenience. Every window must have a secure, cat-proof screen that's actually attached, not just sitting in the frame. Better yet, only open windows from the top, or use window guards designed specifically for cats. Balconies should have cat-proof netting installed, or your cat should never be allowed on them unsupervised. And if you think your cat is too smart to jump or knows better, remember, instinct overrides intelligence every single time when prey appears. At Whisker Wisdom, we believe in protecting cats from dangers they can't see and owners often don't know exist. If this opened your eyes to risks you never considered, share it with another cat owner who needs to hear this. Your home is supposed to be your cat's safest place. But safety isn't automatic. It's created by understanding what your cat's biology makes them vulnerable to, what their instincts drive them toward, and what seemingly harmless human conveniences are actually creating chronic exposure to toxins and risks. The fabric softener poisoning them through grooming. The floor cleaner residue they can't metabolize. The nonstick fumes they're breathing. The synthetic fragrances overwhelming their respiratory system. The ultrasonic device causing invisible stress. The string that could perforate their intestine. The window that could become a fatal exit. None of these are obvious dangers. That's what makes them so insidious. They hide in plain sight, normalized by marketing and common use, causing damage so slowly that symptoms don't appear until months or years of exposure have already occurred. But now you know. And knowing means you can act. Different cleaning products. No fabric softener on their bedding. Cookware that doesn't release toxic fumes. String always secured. Windows always protected. Devices removed that cause stress. These aren't expensive interventions. They're awareness translated into action. And they might be the difference between a cat who develops mysterious health issues at 8 years old and one who's still thriving at 15. Your cat trusts you to keep them safe. Not just from the obvious dangers, but from the hidden ones too. The ones they can't smell, can't see, can't avoid on their own. You're their only defense against the invisible threats in the place they call home. Make it count.